Hey everybody, this is Laura. Here is my weekly spread for December. I do kind of the same thing once a week, and it works really well for me. I have a separate thing that I do for my daily spreads, which is really simple and kind of morphs to be whatever I need for that day. But every time I start out a weekly spread or a new month or something, I put a little tag like I've just drawn up at the top. That way I can easily see from the side of my book which pages go with which months. And so I use a different main color for every month. And December is green because Christmas. So right now what I'm doing is I am making my week log, I guess. It's where I write down important events that I need to remember, and I have one box for each day. I use this for my calendar if I have doctor's appointments, if I need to go do important things with my family, or I have activities I wanted to attend. That's what I put here. So right now is just making that, which is really simple. I do this oftentimes when I'm sitting at a gathering where I need something to focus on but doesn't take a lot of attention, if that makes sense. So I can do this just sitting on my lap, and it's pretty simple. You'll see me flip back and forth between a few pages. That's so I can make sure I've got, right there, I've got the same things for each week. I have gone through quite a few different weekly spreads as I've been experimenting with my bullet journal, just trying to figure out what works out best for me. What I'm making right now is my habit tracker. This is probably the 5th type of habit tracker I've gone through. Right now I really like it, but you can see right there that I am having a difficult time keeping up with my habit tracker, but that is a work in progress. I love being able to look back and see what I have done, what I haven't done. It makes it really simple for me to notice my habits, basically. So this version of a habit tracker is one that I got the idea from a Pinterest post. That's where I get most of my ideas. But this one I remember seeing when I first started bullet journaling, and I really liked it. It had a lot of diagonals, and that was really pleasing to my eyes. So I tried it out with all the diagonals, and that did not work out for me. I like looking at it, but I didn't like working in it. So I just changed it to straight boxes, and so far it's working out pretty well for me. My habit tracker isn't full of just X's and check marks. It has numbers, sometimes I write stuff in it. There's lots of different ways that I use my habit tracker. What I'm doing right now is just adding in my days. So up at the top I put my days, and then across the side I write down the habit that I'm tracking. So some of the things I'll just put a simple check mark in the box. I do use some check marks. Some of my things I will just write down numbers. Some of the things I'll put several check marks in a box. Sometimes I'll just color it in. Sometimes I'll use an X. When I first started doing bullet journaling, I did a lot of color coding, and this day is red, and this day is orange, and this day is yellow, so it would become a rainbow, or so I could use all of my colors, and I loved looking at that, but I hated doing it. So after a while, I thought, wait a second, a bullet journal is for me. It's my bullet journal. Just because somebody on Pinterest or YouTube does this doesn't mean I have to, so I changed it. And I just started using X's. I tried doing this cute little thing where if you filled in every single day, you'd have this really intricate pattern. That turned out to be too much for me too, so I went back to the X's, and then I moved on to check marks. So I have graduated to the check mark, which is great. So I've filled in my days. You can see how it works. My book isn't quite big enough for me to have enough space to write everything and fit all 7 days on, which is fine, so I just put Sunday down on the bottom there. It works out really well. I like the way that it kind of breaks my page up a little bit. This accomplishment section is one that I actually saw my mom doing in her bullet journal. It is something that I love filling in. It's just little things that I'm proud of for that day. I think last week I wrote down that I didn't cry all day. It's been a very emotional few weeks for me. And so that was actually a really big accomplishment for me. The accomplishments don't have to be, I finished a marathon, which is great. I'm not putting that down, but there are other accomplishments in your lives. You'll notice that on my accomplishments, I put a cute little arrow underneath, but there's a line going through it. I don't want to keep that line, but I have to wait for the ink to dry in order to do anything. Trust me, dry ink is way better to go over with my method of whiting out. Thank you, Amanda, for helping me out with that on your mistakes vlog. That was amazing. So I'm using this Signo Uni-ball white pen. I got 4 of them online for $3. They did ship from China, so it took a long time to get here, but you can see that you can't even tell I wrote anything there. And once it dries, you can write over it just like normal. So I love that Signo Uni-ball pen. Here I have my washi tape. I have discovered that I do not have to use things the way they were prescribed, per se. This washi tape is too thick for what I want to do, so I've just cut it in half there. And after I cut it in half, it is the perfect size. I could cut it into thirds, I can cut it into fourths. I mean, now we're getting a little crazy, but it all works out pretty well. So since I have put my washi tape on, now I have room to write my tasks section. This is where I just write down tasks that I want to do, and I fill this in as the week goes. Sometimes I have tasks that I haven't accomplished yet, so I'll just fill those in right now since I know that I have them. But most of the time, maybe Tuesday, I'll realize that, oh, I need to make some sort of an appointment, or I need to talk to this person. So I'll just put down a task right there. If I need to put the task down, but it has a deadline or it's at a certain time, then that goes in my actual days so that I know what time I'm doing each task. I'm just using my UniBall to white out those black lines again so you can see that really well. I haven't done my task one yet because once again, I'm going to wait until the ink is dry. That is important. Otherwise, the ink turns all gray and it doesn't actually work the way it's supposed to. Okay, so now I'm just writing in my habits, and my goal is to get 10,000 steps every day. The mental habit is something that is really nice for me. I write down my overall mental attitude of the day. Like I said, it's been a hard few weeks, so recently it's been meh to bad. But sometimes I have a good day or an excellent day or all right. And so I can write anything I want there, just something that reminds me of what my mental attitude was for that day. That's something I really like. You can read the rest of my things. Twix, by the way, is my dog. She's adorable. You would love her if you met her. So next what I'm going to do is I'm figuring out which quote I want to put into my book. I put a quote on every weekly spread, something inspirational that helps me remember that I'm strong, I'm capable, I'm worthy, I can do hard things. Those are very important to me. The pens you see over on the side, those are called double-ended brush marker, felt and brush tip. So it's a double-ended pen. I got them at Barnes & Noble one day and I was super excited because the brush tip is actually pretty small, so I can use it in my bullet journal to write small things. I love my Tombow markers, but I feel like I can only do big headings or titles or cards or things like that with them. And I was really excited to find these when I could use them every day just in my taking notes or something. So the quote that I chose for this week is one that I actually have on my wall so I can see it, but it speaks a lot to me. She knew the power of her mind and she programmed it for success. Our minds are so powerful. It's amazing how powerful they are, and we don't even use them, which is fine. We'll learn how to do that eventually. You've probably noticed that I just use my pen for everything. This pen is just a UniBall pen that I got in a pack of like 25, and I bought it when I was little for drawing and like inking over my drawings, but since bullet journaling, I use it for everything. I make my fake calligraphy with it. I mean, my double-ended pens, I could make this calligraphy, but sometimes I don't think of it until after I'm done, so I just use my UniBall pen for everything. It works out really nicely for me. A lot of people like to use their brush pens, and I do sometimes when I think about it beforehand. So we're all human here. Anyway, I just go over the words that I want to bold, and then they look like I meant to do that on purpose, which I did, as far as you know. And then I'll just grab my double-ended brush tip. I wish I had a better name for these, but I don't. You can get them at Barnes & Noble. Anyway, I'll take those, and I've really been liking capital letters with cursive behind it in a different color recently, and so that's what I'm going to do next. After, of course, I fix my little mistakes with my white gel pen, which is the best purchase I've ever made. Did I mention that yet? Not sure if I did, but you should totally get one. At Michael's or Joann's or something like that, you can get white gel pens, but they are like $3 a pen. Not that big a deal. But like I said before, this white gel pen I got for $4 for 4 of them, or 3 or something like that. I did have to pay for shipping since it was from China, but it was worth it to me. You'll notice that I'm just inking in my headings, I guess you can call them. I use my brush tip for this, so you can see how the brush tip works, and I can control it really well. You can kind of tell where I wide it out if you're looking at it, but if you were just glancing at the shopping, coming, tasks, accomplishments, you wouldn't be able to tell that I did anything. So here, I fill it in, and then I just go over the spots that I missed, and these colors are really consistent and easy to use, and they're beautiful colors. There's tons of them. At Barnes & Noble they have a 12-pack, but they also have like a 35-pack. Super excited about that. I talked about how I use this tag on the side to be able to see where all my things are, so I was just drawing on the side of my paper so it's easier for me to see when my book is closed. Might look like I'm almost done, which I am. I'm just testing out the colors on the back page so that I know which colors I want to use. This is where I'm writing in the cursive, so it looks nice on the background. The program was actually kind of difficult to write, but that's okay. It looks really good now, so I also really like just going over on the side like I am right now. This is one of my favorite ways to make things beautiful and stand out. So fixing a few things. Oh wait, just kidding, not fixing, I'm adding highlights. What? Pen of many uses. That's what the white gel pen is. So I'm just gonna add in some tasks. I make these, I just connect the dots without actually connecting them, so it looks pretty good. Gotta go to the orthodontist. My dog, Twix, who's wonderful by the way, like I said, she ate my retainer, so that was great. I was watching some YouTube videos about pens earlier today, so that was a mistake. I can use my pen to white out everything, and once that's dry, I'll write it in again. I can also use my pen to correct small mistakes, and that's awesome. So here's my weekly spread for you. It looks really great, I think, and I hope that you enjoyed this video.